I'm excited to have the opportunity to share some thoughts tonight on some leadership values and leading at a time of crisis. I know the beautiful thing that we are going through right now is a chance to grow. And I think anytime when you have a crisis, we're going to talk about the different leadership values that's involved in that, and the kind of situations that we're in right now, and some thoughts to help us grow from it. Let's go to the next slide there, Alex. Okay, so we think about leadership, and when we think about leadership, there's a lot of people. I know I'm in sports, and I had the opportunity to work with the John Maxwell team, and had a chance to work with a lot of CEOs and a lot of businesses during 1 year that I was out from basketball, and I'm a great fan of leadership. And one thing I've learned, people are looking to be led. And even during a crisis, more than ever, this is the time that people are asking, please lead me. They're looking to be led. They're looking to be influenced. And they're looking for someone to guide them and help them get to where they want to go. And in coaching, we have a great philosophy that we share. It's being able to take somebody in a place that they couldn't take themselves. That's what coaching is. Well, leading's the same way. It's being able to take somebody, and there's 3 different types of leading. Sometimes you got to lead in front. Sometimes you got to lead side by side where you're holding hands. And then the third is sometimes you got to lead from behind. That's where you're pushing somebody to where they're trying to get to. So I think there's 3 important types of leadership, and each one of those requires a different technique depending on the situation. Okay, let's go to the next slide there, Alex. So, you get in a position of leadership like in this situation, you're the coach. Everybody's counting on you to lead them right now. They're counting on you to be the one who's going to help them in the crisis, going to help them go through the circumstances that you may be in right now, and everybody's looking at you. So how do you handle those type of situations? We're going to talk about the different values and the different thoughts and how that will go. Okay, the next one. I see a picture. I'm here with John Maxwell. I had a chance to spend a lot of time and study a lot of his work. And one of the things he always said, which is a great comment, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and most importantly, shows the way. Okay? And when you're in a leader, the leader stand out in a crisis situation. Your first responsibility as the leader is to define reality when you're in a crisis situation. It's important for the people to know what the truth is and what we're dealing with. And you got to be able to lift them, and you got to be able to serve them, and you got to be able to add value to your people first. And we're going to talk about how those things go as we move forward. And you can't be stressed and blessed at the same time. John Gordon, a friend of mine, he uses this comment a lot in positive thinking. It's hard to be stressed at the same time when you're feeling blessed. It's important from a mindset. Leaders show up, calmness, and it provides hope and assurance. During the times of crisis, this is when you show up, this is where you stand up, and this is where your calmness and you provide hope and assurance. When the crisis happens, what does it do? This is what it does. Number 1, you have to take more risk. Obviously, those risks have to be calculated, but you got to be able to change and adjust to what you're doing. You got to take more risk. Number 2, you got to be able to increase your focus. When you're in a crisis and a situation happens, your alertness, your awareness, and your focus it's got to get better at the top of the level. And the third thing, this is where you stand up and you stand out. This is the time that when crises occur, is that people separate themselves in their leadership ability. And I always say you have 3 choices. You can give up, you can give in, or you can give it all you got. And give it all you got has got to be the mindset that you approach when you're dealing with this kind of circumstance. Okay, how to lead in the storm. I thought these were some good comments that I wanted to share with you. How we view things is usually how we do things. We talk about this with our athletes many times. Voices and choices. Usually the voices that you're listening to are usually the choices that you're making. So it's the same thing in leadership. It's an example of what you're doing. How we view things as a leader and as a company is usually how we do things. Okay, mindset. Must have a voice louder than the noise. Okay, that kind of means you got to be able to, not necessarily how you scream or you holler, but your voice has got to be able to stand up, and it's got to be able to deal with the fear. Fear is going to be a factor for most people when there's a crisis. People become very fearful. So your voice has got to be the one of hope and one of faith and one with a plan and how you're going to do things. Okay, we're built to overcome obstacles, and we need to turn them into opportunities. Okay, all the obstacles that we've dealt with here, especially the last 3 months, there's been so many other opportunities that people will take this and they will turn it around. It'll be how we view things, will be how we do things to handle the obstacles. Failing's a part of life. Getting back up is living it. There's going to be bumps. Anytime you go through it, failing is part of growth. Failing is part of success. We can't see that as fear. We got to be able to learn from that, and we got to be able to get back up. We talk about self-talk as the importance in leadership. How do we talk? And I think it's important that we're able to not just listen to ourselves, we got to be able to talk to ourselves. There's a difference. There's a guy named Mark Allen that won 6 Ironman champions. He was over 50 years old when he decided to do it, and he won in a row. And during this time, I remember watching him in an interview. They asked him, how did you train mentally to be able to go through all of the tough circumstances that you faced night in and night out and win 6 Ironman championships in a row? He says, I learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself. And I think that's an important thing as we go through the storm and the crisis right now. And the things that we're in control, and this is the talk that you got to be able to have to yourself. Number one, you got to be able to plan in the crisis. What's your plan? Your people need to know what you're going to do. Number 2 is how do you communicate? And we'll talk about that here in a little bit and some of the values that we talk about in leadership, but how do we communicate and how do we share and send a message of faith and hope instead of fear during this time? And the third thing is how do we assist? How do you serve? How do you share with people to help them with the circumstances? And the fourth thing is to be able to adjust. How do we adapt and adjust in the crisis? There's going to be a new normal. What's been normal before is not normal now. It's going to change. So you got to be able to adjust what we say out of strength, not out of weakness, out of strength. And we'll talk about being able to raise your lid and add value. We talk about, sometimes in life, John Maxwell talked about this, is the law of the lid, that sometimes we are put in a situation where we think that just like a jar has a lid on it, that we can only reach a certain level because people tell us that you can't get to where you need to get to, and this lid is on our life. So how do we raise the lid in the storm and add value to it? We're going to talk about that coming up. We're going to talk about clarity. It's important to understand the direction and the truth. Clarity is a vital quality when you're dealing with a crisis. And I love this analogy, PGE. We talk about this even in sports. Your pains, your gains, and your experience. Okay? And we sometimes call those scars in life, but the pains, gains, and experiences, the pains that you've been through, the gains that's helped you create through your experiences. PGE. We all have a PGE factor in how we've grown from it. And then hope is the next thing we talked about, adjusting out of strength. You got to have great hope, and that's courage together. And all great leaders took people through tough crises. Most leaders that we look at and we revere and we respect and we want to follow have all been incredible leaders through tough times. So we talk about the DNA of a leadership. All right, and that's what we're going to talk about, is your leadership, the values and the DNA made up of great leaders. And there's 3 questions you ask yourself when you start evaluating yourself as a leader, and for your team or for your company. What are we made of? What do we stand for? And the third thing, what do we look like? How do people see us? And these are questions we ask ourselves in sports. And As you see this analogy I have on here, this is an analogy we use in recruiting. What do you get when you play for our coaching staff? All right, we're the leaders of this program, and it's important for us to share, what we're made of, what do we stand for, and what do we look like. So as you can see, we're given an analogy in this image. So the first thing we're going to talk about, first value, most important in leadership in a crisis, is number one, is you got to value people. We are a people of value that value people. There's nothing more important in an organization and in a team than the people, because people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the success that I've been fortunate to be around, some of the great leaders I've been around, the first quality they've always focused on is serving other people and adding value to them. And we see people as ourselves. We see people as people that are looking to be led. And the better we get when we add value to people, the better they get. We all get rewards from it. The team wins when you go through it. Everybody wants to be a part of a team. You become a person of influence. And we're going to talk about the importance of influence here in a little bit. And when you stop loving people, you stop leading people. And then the question that I think is important, I always end every conversation with every player, every family member, before I hang up the phone, is what can I do for you? How can I serve you? It's a great question to always ask the people you're leading, because that is telling them, is there anything I can do to help you? Because you matter. I love this right here. It's a picture with my daughter several years ago. I was at Father's Day, and a lot of you probably watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. It's a picture of Tim Tebow when I was at the University of Florida with Urban Meyer. Everyone has an invisible sign hanging around their neck, and it says, "Make me feel important." So I think it's important to understand we all want to be a part of a team. We all want to be led, and we all have this invisible sign around our neck, regardless of who it is. The highest level leader in your organization, the president of your company, they're all carrying this invisible sign around them and say, "Make me feel important." The best leaders are listeners. How do you listen? A lot of times we think when we're leading, we got to be talking all the time, but it's hard for us to be able to learn and grow other people when we're not sure, one, what their love language is, two, what their struggle is, three, what their pains are, what their story is. So how can we really get to know and add value to somebody if we're not listeners? And I think it's important. It shows respect, and it shows importance in how we listen. The choices you make you. Anytime we're leading and we're adding value to people, it's going to be about our choices. Our success is a accumulation of a lot of choices being made, not only by ourselves and our staff, but the people that's working for us. The standards for yourself will be higher than what others might set for you. And I think that's important to understand. You're going to be able to raise the bar at a level that you got to help other people get there. And helping people is more important than making them happy. And that's an important thing. Sometimes we have to show people the way, that we have to be able to, and it's not always the easy path, because there'll be some pains for the gains through the experience that we just talked about a little bit ago, but your focus has got to be on the present. I was watching The Last Dance the other night, and we've been doing a webinar with our players, and we've been doing it on The Last Dance. And one thing we're talking about is Michael Jordan, the leader. And one of the things that made Michael Jordan really great that everybody talked about with his teammates is he had the ability to stay in the present. He was a great competitor. He brought it every day. No matter what the circumstances were, win or lose, he was able to stay locked in the moment and be able to perform. Leadership is influence. The ability to add value to people results in influence. So you're leading somebody. If you're influencing someone, somebody's following you, that means you're a leader. You have the ability to have influence. And we talk about, I got a graphic you see right there with Stetson in the middle. It's got Coach Jones. And you can see what our circle of trust there is. And it all starts with our team in the middle, and it all has arrows leading to it. Just not me. It's our assistants, our teammates, our managers, our student body, our fans, our teammates. Everybody that's involved is important, and we all have influence. So how are we influencing each other with the decisions we're making every day to add value to people? The second one, when we talk leadership, we talk about live intentionally. Live intentionally. Live out our life on purpose. All things have value. Anything in value is an uphill battle. No effort, no value. Anything worth accomplishing in life has been a struggle. That's what you've grown from. There's been a crisis involved of some sort. In sports, the beauty of it is handling the agony of defeat and obviously the celebration of victories. How do we handle both with that balance? How do we get back up and compete the next day with all the things that's been tough? And it's the same in leadership. You got to be able to intentionally provide that message every day. Consistency is rewarded in the end and not in the beginning. A lot of times, especially with players and with young people today, they want to be rewarded in the beginning. They want instant gratification. But we know anything worth having or achieving usually is brought on through time and through consistency and is rewarded at the end. Life's greatest book is your story. Your pains, your gains, your scars, your words, your good deeds, the things you've been through. And then most importantly, be the change you wish to see in the world. So we talk about trust. There's a picture of a guy, coach named Jason Williams. It was a first-round draft pick in the NBA. And the big thing for him in life through his travels was about building trust. And I established that with him at a young age. And to this day, we're best of friends. But there's three things I've realized that trust is built on. Number one is time. Okay, putting time in with them, learning about them, knowing about them, learning their story, and consistently being there, being the same, showing up every day, win or lose, good or bad for them. And then the last thing is proof. All right, do you deliver what you talk about? Are you the person that you say you are? Are you someone that consistently puts time in intentionally to gain trust with somebody? And this is an important thing. You trust me, I trust you, and together we can trust each other. That's a great sign of intentional values in growing people. So when we talk about being intentional, do you have a plan to grow? Not only grow yourself, but growing people in your organization. People all want to buy into somebody who's bought into them. Growth is just something that's not natural. It's during this time now, these last 3 months. How much have you grown? Right now, you're listening to this webinar. I listen to 3 or 4 a day about other people, coaching clinics, leadership, trying to grow myself. So the last 3 months has been an incredible chance for me to grow as a leader. And growth's not natural. We just can't hope that it's just going to happen for us or we're just going to learn by just being here. You have to be intentional to have a plan. So we talk about the law of intentionality. How do you have a plan for that? Growth just doesn't happen. Life is a session. And the most important thing, you're here tonight and you are present, are you present with the plan that you have to grow yourself and the people around you? And so when we talk about that, your plan to grow, I ask these questions. Where do you want to go in life? What direction do you want to go? What's the farthest you can imagine going, and how long will it take? And so this can go for individual growth as well as a team and as well as an organization, of being able to ask yourself these questions as you build your intentional plan. So it's important now. A lot of people say you got to act on your plan within 48 hours for it to become reality. A lot of times we put things out, but you got to do it now. And you got to make it happen, and you got to put it in action, because every day matters. And passion's the key. In sports, in life, You show me somebody that's been successful. I'll show you somebody that's been through crisis, difficulty, but has unbelievable passion as for their potential to become great. And that's in leadership, that's in sports, that's in life. It's the human spirit. And with that, you know, you gotta feel accomplished. You gotta feel it. You gotta be motivated. You gotta meet people. You gotta lead people. You gotta believe. You gotta attend. All those words have a key component to passion. Another thing that's important in being intentional is how you manage your energy. I think this is a key thing. We talk about this. Uh, there's only so many days. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only 24 hours in a day. How do you manage your energy and show up for the moments that really matter most? Athletes have an incredible ability to be able to do this. Great leaders have an incredible ability to be able to do this. And so it's important each day when you're planning out what you're doing, especially through a crisis as well, is don't give your energy to the wrong people. There's a lot of people that want to take up your time. There's a lot of people that bring you a lot of drama and things you don't need to deal with. So it's important for you and your mindset is that you are able to manage your energy. And if you're going through a time, if you feel drained, you feel unfulfilled and not focused in the right place, you got to reset your energy clock. And you got to decide and look at your day and see where are you putting your energy. Are you putting your energy into things that are really productive for yourself personally, for your family, and for your business, and for the people that's following you right now? How do you manage your energy? I hear people say get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I work 18-hour days. And some days as a leader, those type of situations are needed. But if you're managing your energy in the right moments, you will be able to balance your life in a much more productive way. Number 3, exceed expectations in leadership values. We talk about this in sports too. We always want to exceed our expectations. Everyone gets a trophy. No one has succeeded being average and follow through until we finish. So what does that mean? You know, there's a lot of mentality where people in sports now with young kids, everybody gets a trophy. It's not really helping us exceed our expectations. It's been given to us. And no one wants to hire somebody that's average. Nobody pays for average. Average is just doing what's required, not doing one more. And it's important when you're exceeding expectations is to follow through until we finish. We talk about finishing and then one more all the time in sports. We always go one more step. We call that the magic step. How many will go one more? Most people will do what's required. And we know Nike has a great slogan, no finish line. There's no finish line. That means you're continuing looking for more and you're continuing trying to beat whatever you've done last time with that magic step. Don't let anyone set the bar for you in life, no matter what it is. It goes back to the law of the lid, which I mentioned a little bit ago. You can't let people tell you where the lid is for you and where you can get to. You got to be able to go more and exceed your expectations. Okay? And we hear this a lot. Keep your mind on the main thing. Went back to how you manage your energy. When you're going to exceed expectations, there's going to be a lot of pressure during a crisis that you're going through right now. You got to be able to keep on the main thing. They call this the Pareto principle. Some of you have heard this in business and leadership. It's the 80-20 rule. And it's important for most of the time. What happens is 80% of the time we spend our energy on things that have no value. And 20% of the time is the things that's important that we end up doing a great job with that ends up affecting us or ends up helping us. So it's important how we manage our time and how we're being able to be productive with the things we do. Number 4, grow daily. How are you growing yourself? And this is a vital part. We talk about this with our players. We talk about this with our coaches, is how are we growing? How do you expect to get better doing the same thing that you did yesterday? How do you expect to get better? What are you doing to challenge yourself? We're constantly challenging our players. We're constantly teaching them. We're constantly challenging them in different ways. and we're giving them ways and how to do it. Lifelong learner and a growth conscious. So we talk about being a lifelong learner. Readers are leaders. What kind of books are you reading? What kind of things are you being able to take and share as I am here tonight? How far can I go? We talked about having no finish line, the Nike slogan. You got to have a teachable spirit, a coachable spirit. You got to look for change. And then you got to love learning more than you hate failure. And I think that's an important thing with a mindset, is how you approach growing daily, not only yourself, but growing the people around you. So I thought this was a great thing that I share a lot of times. And we talk about the 8 most influential factors of your life. What you read every day, what are you feeding in your mind? What are you putting in your head to be able to grow yourself and to be able to share with someone else? What do you listen to? These are things we talk to our players about all the time. What do you watch? What do you feed in your mind each and every day? Is it growing you or able to grow somebody on your team? What you eat? How you take care of yourself? What are you putting in your body each and every day to be your best? How you treat your body? How you sleep? How do you rest? How do you train? Who do you associate with? Voices and choices. Who's your circle that you're around? What you choose to believe in. What are you choosing to listen to? We talked about voices and choices. And number 8, you heard me mention this earlier, your self-talk. Are you talking to yourself? Or are you listening to yourself? And during a time like this, fear finds its way if you let it in. And it's important that you're able to speak the self-talk to yourself during this time. So you got to raise the standards for each and watch your life improve. So when you talk about these 8 things, these are things that we share with our players to help lead them and grow them. You got to get in the zone. You got to stay there. In sports, we're always looking for that zone. You're having that night where you just can't miss a shot. Everything's just going well. How do you get in that zone? And you ask yourself, what do you do? What do you do well? Okay, and get specific with that and find out what's your strength zone in it. When you're going through a crisis or you're going through in sports and you're losing, obviously it hurts. It's really hard. And you go through it and you ask yourself, but why? But as you can see here, if Stetson wasn't built in a day, how long are you willing to give yourself? So what's going to be your plan? How are you going to handle the disappointments? How are you going to handle the storms? How are you going to handle the highs and lows? What's going to be your approach to continue to build it? How are you going to create your energy and manage it every day to be able to lead the people that you're being asked to lead? This is a great comment here from a sports team. It's called perfect effort, where we're asking everybody's best. It's not about perfect, it's about effort. And when you implement that effort into your life every single day, transformation happens. That's how change occurs. Keep going and remember why you started. And when we get into talking about teams, what's your why will be a big factor, which we won't talk about right now in leadership. But when we build teams, that's very important. So I put this on here because this is a saying we use with our team. Perfect effort. We know you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. But one thing you can have every time that you're competing is you can have this effort right here. And that's how you change yourself with the best you can give each and every night. You got to be a connector, not just a climber. Sometimes we just want to climb up the mountain, try to get there as quick as we can. We're worried about ourselves. We're just focused on our position. We're just, valuing competition. We're trying to seek power. We're trying to just worry about our image, what's in it for us. But a connector thinks differently, thinks horizontally, focuses on relationships, values cooperation and teamwork, seeks partners, and builds consensus. So a connector is somebody that's completely different as a leader than a climber. And that's when it goes back to the first value that we talked about, adding value to people. But as we know in life, for every gain, you give up something. And I put some things on here that I thought was pretty important because there's trade-offs, worth making. And you can see your spiritual walk, your second half, multiplication, your excellence, your quality of life, your focus, your personal growth, your significance, your accomplishments. And so it's important how we're able to give those things up and to be able to gain things through it. And trade-offs got to be worth making, as you can see in this illustration. So we talk about number 5, positive attitude. And it's important. We hear positivity all the time. And positivity has no value unless it's what you bring and demand each and every day. We can't let fear be a factor. I know fear has no value into being able to be part of successful teams and being able to be a part of successful people. And it's important that we're able to think big and be able to have energy and endurance and create a mindset of positive energy every day. So what's that look like? Well, when you get kicked in the rear and you know you're out in front, how do you hold up against criticism? How do you take it? In coaching, how do you handle losing? How do you handle winning? How do you handle being criticized daily in front of thousands of fans? You're being judged in coaching 30 nights out of the year how your team performs. So in business, it could be how you're handling criticism during this time where there's been a lot of struggle based on what's happened with COVID-19. So it's important from a positive energy, how are you building in your mindset to deal with criticism? So I know there's a lot of these on here, and I use this. I give it to our coaches all the time. 101 ways to praise a child. It's no different than praising people or the words. Some great one-word terms to use. Wow, super, remarkable, outstanding, excellent, great, beautiful, now you're flying. Incredible words, beautiful sharing, outstanding performance. These are words that's just like breathing oxygen into people's soul. It's how you praise them. And it doesn't matter. Remember what I said earlier. Everybody's got that invisible sign around their neck saying, I want to be a part. I belong. I want to belong. Make me feel good. Recognize me. No matter what, you can always find a way to breathe some life in people with the words that you use. Number 6, one of my favorite ones, is how do you equip people? How do you equip them? How are you growing people in your organization? During this time here for the past 3 months, we meet every day as a staff on Zoom, and we give a webinar to each other to grow each other. We give assignments. Coaches are studying other programs, they're studying leadership, and they get on there as a coach and they share with us what they've learned. I think it's vital. We get our players on Zoom calls right now, and we're sharing leadership. We're reading books. We're talking about things we learned in The Last Dance, circumstances with Michael Jordan. We're hearing their story about where they're from and who the people are in their life. We're sharing life experiences. We're trying to equip our people to become great by adding value. So we train people who train others. Pay it forward, prepare others to take your position, and add values to others. I have this picture up here of a friend of mine. His name's Lieutenant General Mark Hartling, an incredible guy. He was my neighbor in Orlando, Florida. We got very close. We met through a lady, a mutual friend, who introduced us, and we connected immediately. He was intrigued about sports and coaching and how you lead young men. An incredible leader, obviously led our troops, the Afghanistan war, 3-star general, and I was intrigued about his leadership and his approach and how he guided people and how he trained people. And he shared this story with me, and it's a great example of the importance of equipping people. The military, which is our greatest team and the greatest leadership in the world, is for us to learn from. And obviously he was a part of that for many, many years, being a 3-star general. And he talked about they take the top military guys, usually 30, to charm school. If we have some military people on here, I'm sure they've heard this before. And when they take you to charm school, he told me that he thought he had really arrived to the top of his profession, which he had. But when the general walked in to address the group, there were 30 of them there. He said, "Congratulations, you 30 are the best of the best, and we are here to celebrate you, but we do want you to know that we could take all 30 of you and put you in an airplane and crash it into the side of the mountain, and we would not miss any of you all a single day goes by." So he's sitting there and he's thinking, wow, here I'm thinking I'm like one of the most elite soldiers in the world, and they need me. Okay, just like a star player on your team, they need me to win. They can't win without me. Well, the military's mindset was, it doesn't matter what you know if the person beside you does not know. You got to be able to share, and sharing's caring, and you got to be equipped, because if something would happen to you and this other soldier beside you has to lead our military, he's got to know what you know, and he's got to be equipped. And that's why Gettysburg, I had a chance to go. He takes 60 people, and he takes doctors, and they take them to Gettysburg, and they take them and they teach them the same mindset, how we become a team. How do the doctors depend on the nurses, and the nurses depend on the doctors, and how we all have a huge part of being equipped in battle or in surgery or in your teams. So how are you equipping your people to perform? It doesn't matter what you know if you can't share it. So it's important to be able to equip your people in what you do. I had a chance to work for Billy Donovan. It's a great comment for him, one of the greatest leaders I've been around. We won several national championships, got to the mountaintop in sports, but he's an incredible builder of men. And he used to say all the time, bad teams, nobody leads. Average teams, coaches lead. In elite teams, players lead. So that's an important comment. So when your organization is getting to the point where it's really thriving, they've taken on what you've equipped them for. You're hoping that in sports, in college, your freshmen become sophomores, your sophomores become juniors, and then they're speaking your language, they're acting out your ways, and now they're leading your team. The greatest moments in sports that I've been a part of, we were a player-led team that had been equipped and been taught, and they had believed in before they bought in. So that's an important term. Trust was built, the believe in was there, and then the buy-in became. So it's important. It's a great comment. Don't send your ducks to Eagle School. You will frustrate yourself, you will frustrate the Eagles, and you will frustrate the ducks. So it's important for the right people of who you're bringing on your team. Okay? And that's what this message is. You don't want to try to send ducks to a place that doesn't have the mindset to want to be great, that doesn't want to be equipped, that doesn't want to become an eagle. Eagles fly by themselves, and they are one of the greatest, obviously, that's why we have it representing our country, but one of the greatest animals in the world with what they represent. And so it's important that you understand the people that you're trying to equip and how you grow them. Few leaders are successful unless a lot of people want them to be. I'm a product where I come from in life of a lot of people that's loved me through some times, who's helped grow me, who's equipped me to be where I'm at today and continue to grow me. And so there's a lot. So it's important that you have mentors. Be a mentor. 5 to 6 very important mentors that I've had in my life for 20 plus years that I can gain knowledge from on a daily basis. So as a leader, you always got to have somebody as another leader to learn from. It's important that you're growing yourself to help make you become your best. Number 7, be the example. You can talk the talk, but do you walk the walk? The example is what you represent every day. Follow me are the greatest words you could say as a leader. Are you representing what you talk about? That's how trust is built. Are you representing it? The actions, the words, your emotions, and right now, this is the most important time. All right, this is a crisis situation that we're all going through right now. So how do you think people are viewing you? People are watching our leadership right now. People are watching all around us to see how people are taking things in. So people do not forget what they see. Your children, your friends, your family, your coworkers. How are you responding in this crisis? Coaching, counseling, mentoring, training, and teaching. You got to continue to do that all the time. And I love this comment here by it says, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." Gandhi. That's an amazing comment, one of my favorites. The toughest person to lead when you're supposed to be the example, obviously, is yourself. It's the hardest one because you know what? We feel the pressure as leaders sometimes. As a father, you feel the pressure to make the decisions for your family. So sometimes we are the hardest people to lead. So it's important how we're equipping ourselves and who we're learning from. Defining moments define your leadership. This is a defining moment in leadership. Defining moment as a dad. Defining moment as a husband. Everybody's looking to you to be the leader to help make decisions during this time. So it's important during these moments that you ask yourself one question. What are you learning? What are you learning during this time as you go through this? How are you getting yourself better? And remember, through crisis, people quit people. They don't usually quit companies because the people make the organization. It's the people. People make the school. People make your company. People make your team. People transfer and lead in sports. A lot of the time, not because of the school. They lead because of the coach or the people in the organization. People going out leave a person. So it's important we add you and we try to build relationships because a lot of people will be a part of an organization for a lot less money if they feel a part of the mission. How are you making them feel a part? This is a huge thing. Those who start the journey with you seldom finish with you. A lot of times they get discouraged. They get discouraged in gaining perspective through it. How are you handling that? And sometimes people are going to leave for their own personal reasons, but it's important that you continue to build the people that's around you. It's important that you self-evaluate yourself and reflect during this time every day. And I ask these questions to myself a lot of times to see how the leader's doing. The leader's yourself. Me as a coach, how am I doing? Are the people following you? Are the people growing? I ask myself these questions. Am I changing behavior in my group? Are we succeeding? And how do we look at success? Are we looking at success only because we won a game? Because sometimes you can win games in spite of growing the right way. It hides problems sometimes, winning does. It hides your problems. So you got to look at your people and ask yourself these questions. As a leader right now, my company may be doing well, but am I growing these people during this time? Am I making a difference by the things that's happening? And I hear this all the time from people. If it's lonely at the top, you're probably not doing something right. If you're lonely as a leader, you're probably not doing something right. And what that comment means is you don't have to be alone. Obviously, you're going to be made in charge to make decisions sometimes, but you got to put your people around you and add value to where they feel that you got relationships of mentors, other people that need to be with you as you're growing and not try to do it yourself. And this is one of the last things in closing here before we finish here. I think it was great to end up 11 traits of the best of the best. One of my good friends, Kevin Eastman, who I was with, who was a coach for the Clippers, great man. He wrote a book, The Best of the Best. And I love this comments he's used here. And John Gordon uses these as well. And he used it in his training camp. He has the 11 of the best here. And this is the one from John Gordon's training camp here. The best, 11 traits of best of the best. The best know what they truly want. Leaders know truly what they want. They got a plan. The best, they want it more. Okay, they exceed expectations. The best are always striving to get better. They're trying to equip their people. They're trying to grow. The best do ordinary things better than everyone else. They just don't do what's required. They take the magic step and do more. The best have Zoom focus. They know how to take their energy and they know how to lock into the moments and stand up and stand out. The best are mentally stronger. They have self-talk. They know how to talk to themselves. They don't listen to themselves. They tell themselves that we're going to get through this. We're going to feed our faith and starve our fears. The best overcome their fear. They believe in faith and they share it with their people. The best seize the moment. They know where to stand up when times are hard, and they get people to follow with their influence. The best tap into a greater power than themselves. They take it and they take no credit and they give it to the team and they make it bigger than themselves. The best leave a legacy because in crisis moments, they're able to exceed expectations and embrace opportunities and impact people. That's something that will be left and remembered for a lifetime. And last but not least, the best make everyone around them better. They equip them. They add value. So what the best do better than everyone else? And I think that's the message of what we just talked about. And I put together, which we won't go through all this, my life's purpose. It's important to know. And here I am. I went to Gettysburg with General Mark Hartling in this picture. We stood at the highest point in Gettysburg, and we talked about the importance of going through and leading your team in crisis situations for 2 days. He showed his people there at Florida Hospital and the doctors and how to equip themselves and how to be a team. So how do you create your life's purpose? And these are just quick things. And obviously your family. We can put that at the top of everything that we do in leading. It's important for us. It starts at home first. And then I have one here. How will you add value? And here's a lot of pictures of me with my family in different times and coaching and moments. A coach will impact the young people more than a coach will impact young people in a year more than an average person does in a lifetime. So it's important from the influence that you have. And last but not least, people will summarize you in one sentence. Pick it up now. Determine your legacy today. And here's some ways, obviously, you can follow me on social media. I share a lot of leadership stuff on there. I got a lot of, obviously, our players, things we share, and the message we're trying to send, but also just in a leadership role and a platform role that we have. It's much bigger in basketball. I'm here to be the basketball coach at Stetson and proud of it and honored to be it, but I think it has incredible value how we can lead people. And there's a lot of similarities between sports and business and life. And I'm hoping that these were some things here. The hardest thing was just to put 7 down and put it in a quick talk here that I hope can add some value to you and your company and your life and whatever you may be going through during this crisis. But this is an important time right now that you take these things and you breathe life and gain trust and fight the fear every day with incredible faith. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'll open up to some questions here right now, Alex or Rebecca. We can go from there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. We really appreciate it. I got to say, my Stetson bias might be showing a little bit, and we've all had time at home the last few months to watch different webinars and all kinds of things like that. And this is some of the best information that I've seen and one of the best presentations I've been able to be a part of. So I thank you for that. And like Coach said, we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions or comments. Feel free to chat us in the chat box. I know Ricky Hazel put one in before we started. He'll have to get with you on the details of your podcast setup. He might want to start doing the Hatter Chatter podcast from your house.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Love Ricky.
Okay, we've got one comment that just came in from Paul Nick, a Stetson alum. After the Fort Wayne and OSU, I'm assuming that's Ohio State from last year, losses, how did you leverage that as a positive experience for the student athletes on the team?
Yeah, great question. Well, the biggest thing for us, that was early in the year. We had 8 new players. Well, everybody was new for me this year, but we brought in 6 freshmen walking into tough environments on the road. And we took those situations and we talk about the process. Obviously, you want to win the game. I don't get caught up in the score early on and just trying to really grow these guys. So every loss is a teachable moment, just like a win. But more importantly, how you win, what's expected in winning. And so we constantly talk about the process with those guys. And it was never about blaming. It was about how can we get better from this? Because this is the stage we want to play on. And this is what right looks like is how they played. And what we played tonight wasn't what right looks like. And so we talked about that, broke that down, not only as a group, but as a team, and realized the big picture. It was a one game, 2 games that we played. And it was about how can we grow from this and get better? How can this equip us to put us in a situation to help win in our league?
Awesome. We did have a couple other questions submitted before we started tonight. One that was, what in the process, in the coaching search process, made you realize Stetson was where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I believed in the leadership, Dr. Libby, and Jeff Altier. And, obviously I've been in the state for 20 plus years, been at Florida for 11 and UCF for 6 and recruited the state. Loved the state of Florida. Really felt this was an environment that through relationships we could make Stetson a top basketball program, not only in the state but in the country. And I thought this is a place with their support and their vision of what they were wanting to do, that we could partner up and do something very unique here. So I felt that with them, that commitment, and it's definitely been everything and more I expected.
Absolutely. We've got one from George Mitchison in the chat box. What was the message and the mindset you shared with the team in advance of the huge win against South Carolina?
Be there before you get there. That's what we talked about all the time. Be there before you get there. You got to be able to cast a vision of what it looks like. And before, we've never won. We've never won nothing big. We haven't been to an NCAA tournament. We've had moments of a big win there, but what do the best of the best look like? And so how do we take that and show that we belong and that it's capable to do? It ain't always the most talented team. It's the best team. That's the beauty in leadership. That's the beauty in sports. And how can we buy into that? So that team catapulted us. We won 8 of 9 in our league at one point after those games. And I really think it gave these young kids confidence. And they started buying in because trust was starting to happen. We were consistent with our message. We were able to constantly show proof that it can happen and we can achieve it. And so trust began to be developed in the team at the end. And we was able to coach those guys.
Absolutely. And Rex dropped a comment in. That was one of the best experiences during that game. He won't ever forget it. And then he also put a question in a few minutes ago. Coach, what are great ways to change a perspective of yourself if you feel like you have a bad reputation?
Yeah, well, you just do the next right thing. People are quick to forget what used to happen when they see you doing right. And the people who recognize that will be the people that care about you and believe in you. But you have to be consistent how you build trust back to those people. So for the choices you've made, you can't bring those back. But it's not about what you talk. It's just in leadership, what we just talked about. How are you approaching yourself intentionally each and every day with the things you're doing?
Yeah, we've got another one from Derek Williams, class of 1986 here. What were some of the key components to helping the freshmen take more on in not only transitioning to college, but to assuming big roles for the team's success?
Yeah, great question, Derek. Hello, Derek. Yes, well, these guys, leadership to me is just not about getting one guy to be good. It's just really spending time with these guys as we do each and every day as men, and just really getting them to try to be great in their role. Great teams is not trying to have one guy be really good. It's just whatever we're asking of you. We define roles, and we took away the pressure of somebody having to be great. Now you're going to have guys step outside that had some good years, or a good year this year, and Rob Perry was Freshman of the Year for us this year, and Big Mo Mohamedou. Both those guys were on the All-American top 30 freshmen in the country, both from Stetson. We had 2 of them. So some guys, excel, they exceed expectations, but the mindset is to grow, be a part of the process, and just be great in your role that we're asking you to be. And, pressure's got to become your friend. Pressure is usually when people are not prepared. Preparation is your separation. How do you separate yourself as to your preparation?
Great stuff. And we've got another one here from Robert Augusta. Coach, for motivating others, do you find what people say motivates them normally aligns with what actually does? What are some ways you find what that true motivation is?
Absolutely. Great question. It's important to know who you're coaching. You got to be able to coach guys. You got to know their love language, I love to say. You got to know some you got to shout praise and whisper criticism. Some you got to be able to confront. You got to know the personality, but you also got to build trust. And it starts back to before you can coach somebody, they got to give you permission. And then you got to be able to learn what drives them. And you got to know their dreams. And you got to help them with those sometimes. But it's part of the process of really investing in people before you can really grow them. I can come in and give a talk and inspire and motivate for a minute. But how do you really change someone? How do you change human emotion? It's something that's done over time. And I think that there's not 1 or 2 techniques. There's several. I could do a whole talk on that. And we'll talk more about that in the next session when we talk about building teams. How do we do that?
Absolutely. We've got a couple more comments in here from one from Debbie Monaco. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here with us at Stetson. And then another one from, and my apologies if this is a mispronunciation on a last name, John Coombs. Proud of you, Donnie. Your own passion and sincerity shine through big time. I wish you much success with your upcoming season and beyond.
Thanks, John. Good to hear from you. He's an old friend that we played with back at Pikeville.
That's awesome. And then another one from George Mitchison, some outstanding information and philosophy. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, George. Appreciate your support.
And I'll give everybody another minute to throw in any last-minute questions or comments. And while we wait to see if any of those come through, I'll throw up on the screen very quickly. We will have, this is going to be the graphic for our next session. So Donnie will be back next Thursday, same time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And we'll talk relationships and communication, and I'm going to quickly drop in the chat box here as well a couple of things. First will be our webinar interest form. So we ask everybody that joins us to please just take a few moments and fill that out. Give us some information and feedback on what you thought of tonight's session and any other sessions you've been a part of with us. Let us know, any kind of feedback. We're looking for any topics that you might want to see, anything specific. So we're basing all the events that we're putting together off of the feedback we get from this form. So if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes to fill that out, it's great. It's a great help for us. And I'm also going to drop in the chat a link to register for next week's workshop with Coach Jones. So I'm going to drop those in the chat box now. And then I'll give it 1 more minute for any other final questions or comments. Thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time. Coach, appreciate you taking the time to do this with us. This was awesome, great information, and I think going to get a lot of good takeaways for everybody from this.
Oh, this is awesome, Alex. Thanks for having me, and Rebecca. You guys are the best. This is awesome what you're doing for the alumni and everybody involved. So thanks for having me.
Of course. And this was being recorded tonight, and I will be sending out a follow-up email to everybody early next week, and that'll include the presentation, a recording of this session. So feel free to take a look at all those, but those will be coming to you early next week. And with that, I don't see anything else new in the chat box, so we'll go ahead and call it a night. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Becca, for helping tonight. I appreciate all of you, and I hope everybody has a great night and stay safe.
Thank you.
Go Hatters.